Hello, my name is Kathy. I have a blog called TheDailyMarker, and today I'm going to show you how I created this card, and I'll have a part 2 video showing you how I watercolored the background. Here's another bonus card using the same stamps and dies. I just love this Build a House set from Simon Says Stamp. These are the dies. When I die cut these small pieces, I like to keep some of them attached so I don't lose them. Now here's the rubber stamps. I'm just figuring out how I want to lay out the house. I'm going to be making it larger, so I'm inking up only a portion of this not so perfect square, and I'll be making a rectangle. I mean, sure, you can draw it, but this is just how I wanted to. I wanted to use the stamp, and it works out really good. Then I don't have to measure or think too much. So I inked up two sides of that. I made a rectangle. Now I will be inking up the roofs, and on this particular one, I'm inking up 3 sides, and then I'm going to connect it to the triangular part of the roof. It's such a fun stamp set. It's so fun to build a bigger house. I love it. So now we're going to connect them with just a Sharpie superfine marker. It works great with Copics. I use it a lot. Now I'm speeding this up. I'm just showing you how I laid it out beforehand, just so I had a plan. I'll be popping the door and cutting it out, so I stamped an extra one. And you all know how to stamp, so this is just quick, but not too fast so you don't get dizzy. It's really super easy to cut out. And there's not a die since I extended this house. So it's really super easy, and I thought I'd show you how easy it really is. Now I stamped the door an extra time, so I'm going to use a craft knife to cut out 3 sides of it so that the door will open. I'm using a craft knife, and I have a piece of paper under it because you're not supposed to cut on a craft mat. So I'm being careful, and I'm cutting gingerly. Now I need to cut the door off of the house, so I'll be doing that with a craft knife as well. I have a new computer. My other one crashed, and I was hoping that iMovie would work better, but I've made this 4 times and it keeps cutting off, and I have to do my voice part again. So I probably sounded all nice and sweet. Now I probably sound a little frustrated. So if you hear different clicks and things, I apologize. I colored the background of the house just a beige brown. I think it's E33. It doesn't matter. Just use any color you have. And there's no shading. It's just a way to put some color on there. And now I'm doing the trim. Just color the background, the trim, no fancy way. And make that door pop. Do a fun color. I chose red. Now if you slip a piece of paper behind the door, you can color it really fast. And be sure to color the inside of the door, since the door will open and you're going to slip a little surprise inside the door. It just gives it a more finished look. So that's what I'm doing here. Take that part of the marker and go over all those white spots to give you that finished, complete look. Now I'm cutting out the windows from the masking paper, and I'm going to put it down, and I'll be stamping on top. I'm going to speed this up to save you guys some time. Typically, you can save your masked items if you just keep it on that slippery sheet. Now I've grabbed some of the Simon Says Stamp ink, one of the gray colors I love, and there's like these little stones in the stamp set that I love, and I'm just really very quickly layering 2 colors on that house. I'm removing the masking paper, and I'm gonna add a little bit more on the trim just for a little bit more color. And I got a little bit on the windows, so I used the Zero colorless blender. I use the Sharpie, draw just any kind of drapes. Just gives you that subtle little accent, and color them. We're going to be adding glossy accents to all the windows, so no blending required. I just decided to add some bolder color. It's really such a fun little fussy way to make a card. Now I used a very light blue behind the windows, and I'm adding my glossy accents. There'll be a close-up somewhere here, and I didn't do a very good job getting the bubbles out. Once my glossy accents dried, I did add another layer of dimension for some really strong windows. Use a nubby rag, something with some pill in it, and dampen it with Copic Various ink and blot it onto whatever it is that you colored. This way you can skip that step of shading and just get some nice texture. I like to heat set it, and then I use a Memento black marker to go around the edges of my stamped image. I like to color all that white. Now I'm just using part of the packaging as a ruler to finish off those lines so that they're all the same thickness. And I'm going to use some Distress ink. I love these little cubes just to add a little bit of shading to the corners, and it kind of draws your eye in. Same with the door, and right here it's pretty risky because the glossy accents is wet, and I was successful and super careful. Now I do this all the time. I love my neutral twine. I use a Copic marker, the chisel end, and I just run it along there until I have color on every part of it. Now I'll show another video how I created this background. But the whole idea is this is kind of a moving card. I want the birds to look like they're carrying this house. So I'm figuring out here the angle that the house should go and how I'm going to attach these. So I poked a small hole in 2 parts of the roof. The corner chomper's hole was not small enough, so I ended up using a paper piercer to poke my holes. And I'm trying to figure out how much string to use and how it's going to lay and stuff. Now be careful you don't poke your finger. I've done that with the paper piercer. So just thread that twine and tie a knot, and you don't need to spend a lot of time doing this. While I fiddle with this roof and how I'm going to place the roof, because technically, you know, the string should be taut, but it's not going to be that way. Now you can see the final card ended up being different than this. Once I finished, I took everything off and I used one of the stitched dies, and I love how it finished the card much nicer. All I need to do is color the birds and figure out my sentiment. A quick way to color birds is to use Distress ink. You saw how quick that was, and I'm just going to add some white gel accents. I always like to warm the tip of the gel pen up on my finger. Now I'm going to give that a quick dry and then add a little tiny pupil with black marker. I like to use those super fine Sharpie black markers. So I'm going to do that to both birds. I use some foam on the back. I wanted to show you how I use this enamel accents. I always practice on scrap paper, and you'll notice that when you place it down, you have to let it pool a little bit, and then if you pull it up too fast, there's like a string that attaches, and you have to be very careful about that. So practice, and then you'll get the right dot. Now you can see the heart peeking out of the door there. And then here's the card. I stamped the sentiment on the left, and I had hearts coming out of the chimneys. I hope you like this geometric card as well. Thank you for watching, and check out part 2, the background.